Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Beyond the Scoreboard with Eric.
And Blake.
And today, this episode is called Bracket Busters. Now, we are currently recording at 12:26 p.m. on March 23rd. The first round of March Madness is currently over, and the second round is supposed to start today. So, we are here to talk about that first round, especially the first four games. So, Blake, I'll let you start it off with the
All
first
right.
four.
So we started on Tuesday, March 19th. We had Wagner and Howard. I didn't watch much of that game, but I knew it was very close, 71-68.
Yeah, very close game.
Good close game. Now, the game that I did watch is Colorado State and Virginia. I was shocked about Virginia because a lot of people, when this bracket was made, talking smack about Virginia being in it. And there should have been other teams that should have been in it. And Virginia just did not show up at all that game. They scored, 14 points in the first half?
Colorado State's defense really came into play that first half.
They won, according to my analytics here, they won 67-42. That's
Not good.
Yeah. And so the field goal percentage, Virginia's, was 25%, as Colorado State's being 55. Three-pointing was 35 for Colorado, 17.5 for Virginia. And the thing was, Colorado had 13 turnovers compared to Virginia's 4. But this was a big one. Colorado State had 43 rebounds. Virginia had 24.
That's a huge gap. That's a 19 gap right there.
Yeah. All right, but that was day one of the first four. Then on Wednesday, we had Grambling and Montana State. I personally wanted Montana State, but then they were up. They were up.
Blew the lead.
They were up 42-33. Then they blew it.
In fact, this game went into overtime, Blake.
I believe. Were they up? How much were they up by? 17.
I think they were up by 15.
Who was up by 17? Was that there was a team that was up by 17, but then they blew it. What team was that again?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I know that Grambling State came back, and that game went into overtime. And this is actually that was their first ever tournament win.
Really?
Yeah, this is the first time that they made it past the first four.
No.
Yeah, it showed
I got it.
Showed the pop up.
Excuse me. It was Dayton in Nevada. Dayton came back from a 17-point deficit.
Well, we can talk about that in a little bit, but
I know.
We do know. Here's the thing that we do know: Grambling State was down by a little bit, and they forced overtime, and then they won by 7 in overtime, which is called never giving up. That takes a lot of grit and fight.
Yeah.
So, what's the final first four game, Blake?
Colorado and Boise State, 60-53.
This was a close game throughout
7-point
game. Throughout the 30 to 35 minutes of this game. Colorado pulled away in the final minutes, but it was a very close game throughout. I wanted Boise State personally.
Well, Boise State statistically did better in rebounds and better in turnovers. They had 9 compared to Colorado's 12. But from what I'm looking here, their 3-point percentage and their field goal percentage was terrible. They had 11%, and field goal was 34%. Compared to Colorado's 43, and the 3-pointer being 26.7. Still not good, but, better than your opponent, which you ultimately want.
Yeah.
But moving on to the
first day of the round of 64, which was Thursday. Michigan State and Mississippi State was that first game of March Madness.
Yeah.
Who did you have? Did you have Mississippi State, I believe?
So, in my bracket, I had 3 different brackets. Most of my brackets coming out, I had Mississippi State.
And I had Michigan State in mine. Michigan State managed to grab that win, pretty dominant win over a surprising
Really?
Mississippi State team, 66
Yeah.
to 51, a 15-point win.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State controlled the tempo of that game as well.
They did. I was so proud. And also, Tom Izzo's kid went in the game, which I thought was pretty cool.
It was a very decent game, and
No, but I
no
totally agree.
complaints.
Yeah. But good game. I enjoyed that. That was a good first game.
Well, how about this? Let's do this, right? You had Mississippi State to win. Now, this next game is a little bit shocking for some people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to pronounce the school. I think it's Duquesne.
Duquesne. It's Duquesne.
Duquesne's? Duquesne's?
Duquesne.
Okay. All right.
Duquesne.
Thank you for that. They play BYU, second game of the March Madness. And this was an upset win where they took BYU down 71 to 67.
I had BYU. I had BYU winning that game.
I had Duquesne.
Also, you're 2 for 2.
Listen to this. I was pretty good throughout most of this day.
Same with me. On day 1, I only had a total, I think,
three wrong.
Yeah, 3 wrong. Yeah. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And again, by the way, this game, Blake, BYU, they were in it the entire time. For the first 38 minutes, they were in it.
They were down by 8.
They were down most of the game, but they kept in it, which is always important. It's to always put your heart on the line on that court.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did. So I have no bad feelings about BYU. They'll come back next year and they'll work even harder, in my opinion.
Let's move on to the next game. Akron and Creighton. Good game.
Now at this point, I went 3 for 3.
This would be my first win. I had Creighton winning. Not much to say about this game. Very competitive game between both teams. They worked hard. It was close at halftime. They were up.
Yeah.
Creighton was up by 5. But Creighton just let it go out. They just kept going.
Here's the thing, though. The reason that Akron was in it is because Creighton had... I watched this game. They had probably one of the worst first halves I've ever seen out of a top 4 team in March Madness within recent years. Because Akron, they made Akron look good in this first half. Creighton, next round, they play Oregon. We'll talk about that next week. But I know that if they have a first half like they did against Akron, Oregon is going to come away with this before it even starts.
Yeah.
So Creighton needs to step up more than ever. They need to play the full 40 minutes. They need to play the full 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Creighton, that second half, it was much better. And if they continue to play like that, they can go far.
Yeah. They had over 50% in both field goal and 3-point percentage, but they had 14 turnovers.
Creighton?
Yeah, they had 14 turnovers.
See, the thing is, they have to...
Yeah, Creighton had 14, Akron had 5.
They have to limit the turnovers as well. And it comes down to who wants it more. Creighton or Oregon?
Put me in, coach. Put me in.
I'll talk about the next game here. This one was pretty self-explanatory. Arizona? Long Beach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
Arizona.
not much to talk about in that game. Arizona,
other than a really dominant performance from Arizona.
So I'm 2 for 4. 2 for 4.
I was 4 for 4 at this point.
North Carolina, Wagner. The next game, North Carolina versus Wagner. Nothing crazy.
Again, nothing. I
wanted the upset.
Everyone wants the upset. There's nobody that loves upsets more than me.
I hate North Carolina. I'm a Duke guy. I like Duke more than North Carolina.
Didn't you have Vermont beating Duke?
No, we can
can't really say easy.
We can talk about that later.
Okay, now this game, I was very surprised up until about 10 minutes left in the second half. Illinois and Morehead State. Now, obviously, Illinois ended up pulling out at the end of this game and won by 16, 85-69. But Morehead State, for the first 30 minutes, they were in it. If they,
Dude, they were
whether
only
they were
down.
down by only single digits, at some point they were up by 2 or 3.
They were down by 1 going into halftime, Morehead State.
I know that they
Yeah.
took the lead sometime at the start of the second half, but then Illinois had some kind of momentum and pulled away.
Dude, that was crazy. That was a good. I mean, that was a good game. I watched the ending of it, and I knew Illinois would, seal it up. There's always that and one going on at the end of those games. So I'm
Now I'll
proud of
let
my
you
guys.
talk about the next one, and then I'll follow.
The next one. This killed me because I would have been perfect in so another bracket that I had. So I did 3 brackets, right? And this one bracket, I had every game correct so far up until this point. But the game that really put me to a downfall was the Oregon and South Carolina game.
Ooh.
I had South Carolina winning that game. But of course, Oregon and their point guard had 40
points. Drops 40 points in a game, and he looked
Because
really good.
I forget which bracket it is, but I had them on a tear. I had South Carolina winning, and after them losing, one of my brackets is completely off because of that game. Because wanna know why? I had South Carolina going to the Sweet 16, so that was a killer.
That'll get you.
So I automatically knew that this bracket was going to be out of the equation, and I had 2 brackets left. And I kind of made them similar, which I kind of hate, because if one does bad, then the other one also did bad. So that's pretty bad for me. But if he did not put up 40, yeah. But good game. Congrats to the underdogs because they were the 11th seed. So
Now at this point, like, I was still perfect because I actually did have Oregon, and you believe
you were
me because I
perfect.
showed you up until this Kentucky game, which we'll talk about in a second. I was perfect. I showed you my bracket as well, and you saw that it was perfect.
I have a question for you. Nevada or Dayton?
I had Dayton.
Wow.
Which is why I wanted to talk about this game, because I watched the entire second half.
Dude,
Hear me out.
I had Nevada. And they choked it. Not only I had to watch the ending of the South Carolina game, but I had to watch the ending of the Nevada game, which was a killer for me. Back-to-back losses. I had Nevada losing in the next round, but that was a killer game for me.
No, so listen, this game I know a lot about because I watched this entire game.
Part of me died watching that game, but I have Arizona killing them in the next round.
Now listen to this. There was 7:43 left in the second half. Dayton was down 19. Okay?
Dude, you have to remind me, bro.
They were down 19 in the
shut up.
finals. I'm trying to explain to the viewers. Maybe they don't know. Dayton went on a 24-4 run in the final 7.5 minutes to end the game to win by 3, 63-60, which was one of the greatest second half performances I've ever seen.
All right, we get it.
I'll let you talk about the next game, pal.
Texas and Colorado State. Now, up until this point, one of my brackets is perfect at this moment, and that is the Midwest. I had Texas coming out on top.
So did I.
I did. So good game. It was a little bit. It was too close for me. I got him. It was too close, but they stuck with their mentality and their method, and it worked out for them. But Eric, more importantly, Oakland versus Kentucky. Kentucky's known for losing some big games in March Madness, but losing to Oakland was. I watched I watched that game, dude, and I'm like, "Yep, some people lost a couple of dollars because."
This was my first loss of the bracket.
Wow, so you lost around, like, what, 5, 6 o'clock? But it
I'm
didn't
telling
sound so
you,
bad.
I was 9 for 9 going into this Oakland, Kentucky game. Now,
Dude,
most of the people on the earth picked Kentucky to win this game.
even though with their backstory, it's still Kentucky.
In the
You
last
have to give them
5
some
years, they're 1-5.
in the first round.
No, they like just in the tournament itself. They've
Oh,
only escaped out of the first round one time in the last 5 years. But other than that, they're 1-5,
jeez.
which has which should have been a game changer in terms of who I should have picked. I should have thought about their history in the last 4 or 5 years.
But hey,
But
sometimes
the
history.
biggest probably the biggest upset in the first round, period.
Dude, that was a kill. That was a killer game. But let me ask you now: the head coach is on the hot seat. Do you think?
Calipari?
Yeah. Do you think? What do you think about him? Do you think they're gonna, have a? Well, if he did walk, if the team did want to cut him, the college would lose around $30 million.
Which is why I'm thinking give him one more year.
1 more year. All right. Moving on though. Iowa State versus South Dakota State. I had Iowa State, as any sane person would do.
Absolutely. Now, I have Iowa State to win the entire tournament. This may be a
I do
controversial
too.
pick. That I
But
don't
yeah, but
think that Purdue, I don't think North
you have Iowa
Carolina.
State?
I have Iowa State to win the entire tournament.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I love it. Yeah, I do too.
But there
I
is a
think
game that you missed. There is a game that you missed, and that was Gonzaga and McNeese.
I watched the Gonzaga
You, well,
game.
you skipped over it. I'm just saying we're
Oh,
just backtracking a little bit.
oh,
Gonzaga pulled that game out. Really wasn't really close at all.
it
They
was
won by
not.
21, 86-65, plain and simple. Gonzaga's always been pretty dominant in the tournament.
You know what? We should talk about the Peacocks. It's St. Peter's.
This was probably my worst pick of the first round so far.
Yeah, you're such an
Up
idiot
to
for
this
picking
point,
St.
I
You
picked
pick
St. Peter's
you
on the
picked
upset.
St. Peter. Dude, you gotta be. Were you high? Let's be honest. Picking
Probably.
Saint picking St. Peter's over Tennessee? I get it. You're like, oh yeah, they definitely lose. But you didn't choose Oakland over Kentucky. You chose Tennessee to lose to St. Well, hey, we could be in another universe. Tennessee lost, but they didn't.
We're just
Tennessee
not
played
in
at
that other
state.
universe.
Hey, Tennessee won 83-49. Killer game.
Absolutely killed them.
You know what we should talk about though? An underdog that I love a lot. North NC State.
NC State. Ooh, that's a good one. Now the thing
They've been
is,
on
I actually
in the
had them to
tournament.
win that game.
In the tournament, they won 5 games in a row, and they just won against Texas Tech. And I'm gonna speak off track for a minute. You know what matchup I want to see happen?
What?
Colorado and NC State. They both have 2 big men. Well, as their centers, as their centers. Come on, be with me.
No, I
They have,
understand where you're
they
coming
have
from.
two. They have they have two. They have 2 strong centers that are outstanding. All right, dude. Them going back and forth would be amazing to watch.
Now, with NC State, their big man that you're referring to. Oh man. You're never gonna get over that. DJ Burns is NC State's big man. And every time he got the ball, I watched this game. Every time he got the ball, this crowd would cheer. He's a force inside the paint, and he brings authority and power to that offense that I haven't seen in a while. DJ Burns Jr. is this guy's name. Keep that in mind. I think he's like 260.
I can't get over that. But moving on, though. Alright. You can talk about the next one.
You actually stepped over a game again.
I did?
Yeah, Washington State and Drake was a very close game, 66-61 win for Wazoo, right? They pulled this out. A lot of people
Yeah.
had Drake.
I did not actually watch this game, to be completely honest. I just kind of picked like 50-50.
I was more concerned with the NC State game, considering I have NC State in my Elite
I wonder, did I win that game? Let me check. Oh, I did. Hey, I won that game. Sweet.
Very close game throughout the entirety, but Wazoo ended up pulling it out in the final minutes as well.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
their offense is interesting, to say the least.
Yes,
They're
sir.
very inconsistent.
Well, I have them losing, so it's all good.
Now, the final game of Thursday's matchups, do you want to talk about, or should I?
Oh, I will. Oh, it is very controversial about that block. Kansas and Stanford.
Samford,
not Stanford. Samford, the dogs. Bulldogs, right? Bulldogs?
Mm-hmm.
Is that their name?
Yep.
Excuse me. But dude, I watched that game. Kansas was like trying to be with Samford, and it was close.
Now, Samford was down 20, and they almost came back in the second half, too.
I'll be honest with you. I had Kansas winning, but dude, I feel bad for fans of Samford because
that block should not have been a foul.
That was a clean block.
The most clean block that you'll ever see. In fact, this game was on CBS, which means Gene Steratore was like essentially the rules analyst for that broadcast. And Gene was very surprised at the call of a foul on that block play.
And
it should not have been a foul.
And they couldn't review it.
They couldn't review it. But Samford, I'm just going to say this to any of those fans out there. Samford, you have played your heart out. You gave it 120% on that court.
You got robbed.
You guys got robbed.
Yeah.
And that's an understatement.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Kansas did not deserve that win. At all.
Yeah. Hey, I'm happy though. I got Kansas going to like my Elite Eight.
Yeah, so do I. No, wait, I have my Final Four. I have my Final Four.
It was a good day for me. But moving on to Friday's game.
Thursday's games, I only had 2 wrong. I went 14 for 16. Now, Friday is where I shit the bed.
All right, well, I'll go first. So, in the East, FAU versus Northwestern. Bro, I had FAU winning that game.
So did I.
And I'm not feeling good. I watched that final second of the second half. Bo had 5 seconds and did nothing. He was just jogging up the court, looking around, ready to pass it like he had all the time in the world. And he did nothing. We played outstanding towards the end of the second half. And we did nothing. We took none of that momentum and brought it to overtime. This is not the team. This was not the team that was in the, Final Four?
Last year. No, Final Four last year.
Like, what were they doing? Northwestern scored, I think, like 19, like over 15 points on them in overtime. Like, they brought it was a huge momentum change after that second half.
They scored 19.
FAU came back in that game. They were down most of that game. And they just let it slip from their hands.
The thing that you gotta keep in mind is, right before the end of regulation, it was 58-58. FAU, which is why I didn't understand why this game even went to overtime in the first place, It was a tie game. FAU brought that ball up. Why are you shooting a 3?
Yeah, go for a 2, draw a foul or
You
something.
can win on a 2. You could have even won if you got fouled. Straight
And
up.
also, on top of that, and I will admit though, Northwestern, I forget when it was, but there was a call where it was a flagrant foul. Where it shouldn't have been. It was very controversial and allowed FAU to get the ball, score free throw. And also, I think it happened again later on. But, FAU, I know their whole team came back from last year, but dude, they did not play like it. They played terrible that game. They played terrible. I had them winning that game, but losing to UConn, obviously. But they did not play like what they were last year. The only time they played good was the end of the second half.
And the
And
thing
that's
is,
they played
FAU allowed 19 points in overtime.
that 9. I said what? Over 15, 20? Yeah, no.
They allowed
They scored
19 points in overtime, which is unbelievable in 5 minutes.
That's 6 minutes actually. Oh well. Yeah.
Overtime is 5 minutes.
Oh, all right. But it's so bad. It's so. Moving on though. I'm done with that. I'm done.
Now,
with
you
that
stepped over a game again, and obviously these games were playing at the same time. Baylor and Colgate, not much to talk about there, but
Baylor killed
obviously
it.
Baylor
Team
killed
chemistry.
it.
Yep, team chemistry was amazing. They get the ball out, shot some threes. They
Pretty
were
self-explanatory. 92-67 win. Everyone expected that. I have Baylor in my Final Four.
over 50% in free throw shooting. 3-point shooting. And also, as we are talking at 12:53, the Dayton and Arizona game is live and starting. Arizona's
good.
up 9.
Who do you have for that game?
For me, well, I would have had Arizona versus Nevada, but that doesn't matter because I have Arizona winning ultimately.
Yes, I have Arizona as well.
But let's keep going with this current agenda.
Let me talk about the next game, if that's all right with you.
It's not, but okay.
Okay, fine. Well, San Diego State and UAB.
UAB was in the championship game. I think it's again with the FAU team in San Diego State. They are not playing like they were last year. I mean, 65-69, that's way too close for a team that was in the championship game last year.
I had UAB to win that game, and I was really pissed when they lost. But it was a very, very close game throughout.
Wow,
UAB put it on the line as well.
You had UAB?
I had UAB on an upset win.
You are a crazy fellow, I will tell you that much.
So at this point, I was 1 for 3. So I already matched Thursday's games and the amount that I got wrong. But San Diego State didn't look that good.
They did
for a team that was in the Final Four last year.
Coach, put me in. I'm telling you this. I can shoot that 3 ball so good. See what I mean, dude? Just put me in. Just put me in. Any team I'm on, bro. Whether I'm on the bench for 98% of the game, dude, that ain't 100%, bro.
You'll bring that fire to the team.
Oh, I'll bring that dog in me. You know what I mean? I will be on that bench, dude. Yeah, dude.
You'll be the best. You'll be the best bench warming hype man.
Dude, you kidding me? You kidding me? Absolutely.
At least you're not on the court with 2 big men.
Okay. All right, buddy.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You talk about the next game.
Marquette and Western Kentucky. I was a little bit scared. Western Kentucky was hanging in a little bit, but Marquette knew what their team philosophy was defensively and won 87-69. Very good for me.
Marquette and at this point, this was the first game that Bijan Robinson got wrong. Because up until this point, he was 19 for 19.
So yeah.
So
We're not perfect in life, so.
he just
But
had to pick. He just had to pick Western Kentucky.
a big game that I thought from analytics people of the New Mexico and Clemson game. I heard a lot of people were gonna pick New Mexico to win that game.
You're looking at one of them.
Yeah, I picked Clemson. I
I
thought,
picked New
hey, stick with the
Mexico.
Tigers.
I was upset with the Lobos for this game, losing by 19. Didn't really bring in that fight that I thought that they were gonna have, especially since a lot of people picked New Mexico. But I guess never count Clemson out. That's just the thing. 77-56 win for Clemson was. Again, I
Yeah,
didn't
no, it was
see
a
anything from New Mexico that made me choose them.
is but next game, obviously, if you're okay with me talking about it, UConn and Stenson. Nothing to really discuss about. That was a killer game.
Yeah, I mean, they won, I think, by 39.
Now, Eric, what's the next game that you want to discuss? Because I have
Well,
a really hot.
before we continue, just
Mhm.
again, nothing too much to talk about in this UConn game, a 91-52 game. Stetson, I was a little bit surprised that they were there. Let's put it that way. They didn't belong. But what can you do?
Well, why? Why do you think that?
I just don't think that they played as well as they could have. Sure, they would have lost anyway because it's UConn, but I feel like it could have been like somewhere under 20 points in terms of the loss if they had played harder. Losing by 39 is in the first round is not a good look at all for anybody, any team.
Yeah, no, but Yale and Auburn. Man, I love that. I love that Auburn head coach. He's such a great guy. Just from the interviews I've been watching with him, seems like a really good guy. But losing to Yale, a smart people school.
In an Ivy League school, not a lot of people expected this. Obviously, I didn't. I picked
Dude,
Auburn.
I was watching that game with my dad. He's like, smart and people from a smart school winning a basketball game. I'm like, Dad, it's happening. An Ivy League school is winning March Madness basketball. When Auburn's like a basketball place, you know? Like, bro, I had Auburn. I did not care who it was, but dude, I love Auburn. I had them going pretty deep. I had them going to the Sweet
Sweet?
16.
Yeah.
Yeah, to play UConn.
I think I have had them in the suite as well.
That
Now,
was probably one of my biggest games that kind of killed me.
now, Blake, here's a question that I want to ask you, right?
That
Obviously,
game,
Yale is an Ivy League school.
yeah.
Last year, Princeton was a 15 seed, and they went to the Elite Eight.
Oh, that's
Do you think? Hold on. Here's the question. Do you think that Yale could be the next Princeton?
I don't think so.
So you think they're gone next round?
Are you kidding me? Absolutely. I hate Yale. I hate them. I'm sorry. Hate is a very strong word. I dislike.
I think that Yale can do it.
Of course. You're against me, bro.
Listen. I'm not saying to the Elite Eight. I think that they can pull off another upset in the round of 32, but I do not think that they can beat UConn.
Let me ask you. So so now we know it's San Diego State versus Yale. Who do you have for that game? I mean, ultimately I had Auburn, but who do you think's gonna win that game?
Give me Yale on the upset.
Okay.
Listen, let me tell you why. Let me explain myself, okay? San Diego State in the first round did not play like the San Diego State we saw last year. If they play like that again, Yale is winning this game. by double digits. That's my opinion. I think that it will happen.
Okay, well, you are entitled to an opinion.
And I think that Yale can cause some havoc in that game tomorrow. So that's just my opinion. I think that San Diego State doesn't look strong at all. And I'm not saying this because I'm butthurt that they beat UAB, the team that I chose. I had UAB losing in the next round anyway. But I'm saying that San Diego State made UAB look good.
They did.
Which is why I'm
But
saying that Yale beating Auburn is insane. And if Yale can do that to Auburn, they definitely can do that to San Diego State, given how they played in the first round. But they are not beating UConn.
But moving on. Colorado and Florida.
A very high-scoring game this was.
This was also a killer game for me because I had Florida in one of my brackets going to the Elite Eight. In all my brackets, I had them going to at least the Sweet 16.
I had Florida, I think, Sweet 16, and I had Florida to win this game. But this
That
was a
killer
very
game. Dude, he put up that 3 in the final seconds and went in. Then Colorado just
a
shot
mid-ranger in the corner to win the game.
It bounced, and then it just went.
It reminded, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Kawhi Leonard's buzzer beater against Philly 2 years ago.
That was a killer. I was so mad.
Yeah, so was I, man. I mean, it was it was a very high-scoring game. No defense at all.
No defense at all. But let's talk about the Steph Curry of March Madness.
And who's that?
Nebraska and Texas A&M.
I want to know your thoughts on that game.
His name, if you don't know, he's a Japanese Steph Curry. I don't even know how to pronounce this.
Don't even try.
I'm not.
You don't want to get flagged as a racist, okay?
Yeah, I'm not gonna even try. But
so
just look at Nebraska Steph Curry.
Nebraska's Japanese Steph Curry. He couldn't get it done alone, and they ended up losing this game by 15, 98-83 to Texas A&M.
I had Nebraska winning. I had Nebraska.
So did I. Now, at this point in the day, I think I only had 3 right.
I was killed. After this point, I'm just dead. I lost it. I lost in Nebraska. I lost the Colorado game, and I lost the Yale game. Those were 2 huge losses for me. And also, the first game of the day, Northwestern won. 2 really, really bad losses for me. And also, it only gets worse. I had Duke losing to Vermont because Duke is so inconsistent. And I thought this could be the time.
I told you, I warned you, do not pick Vermont.
I think picking Vermont was a 50-50, more than a 50-50 chance because they are so inconsistent. They'll either be Duke will either be good or not be good. They played okay. They could have played better, but they played good enough to advance. And it's just one of those games. Just like what you picked when you had St. Peter's. You know? You think they're gonna do good that game, and they just didn't. Same thing with Vermont. I thought Vermont's gonna get that break, and they're gonna win. That was simply not the case. But I took the chance on that game, and I do not regret it.
Here's the thing. I agree with you with Duke being inconsistent, but not in the first round. I'm going to tell you,
why not Kentucky in the first round? Like, you can make any argument about that.
Kentucky just sucks in the last 5 years. They've sucked in the last 5 years. I don't even know how they got the 3rd seed.
What has Duke done? Never mind.
I do not think, within the last decade, I don't think Duke has ever lost in the first round. The closest thing was 2nd round against Lehigh a few years ago. Quite a few years ago. But I'm just saying, I don't think, in recent years, I don't think Duke has lost in the first round. So you should not have picked Vermont. And I warned you.
Hey, maybe today was the day. Or yesterday was the day. It's going to come. It's going to come one of these days. One of these months, years, whatever.
Now we have a few games left on the agenda. We'll
Yep.
just start with Purdue and Grambling State.
Killer game. Yo, Zach Edey. I
It's
watched that
him.
game in the beginning. Dude, in the beginning, just give it to him, feed it, dunk, or he'll pass it out for a three. Killer game. That was a fun game to watch because I had Purdue winning.
Purdue, I also had winning. At this point,
Now
I
I
had
will.
5 right.
Now I go on a win streak here a little bit. I had Alabama, and it was scary for me because Charleston was hanging in there.
Now, here's the thing that
And
I will never I can't credit Alabama for is their defense. Their defense this season has been complete and utter shit, to say the very least.
I
There were
don't.
some games where Alabama's allowing 100 plus points or above 90, and most of these games, some of them being out of conference and some of them being in conference. Like I remember
Hey,
when Bama played Auburn and they allowed 100 plus points. Their defense is not good. So for
all I
Charleston
need.
to put 96 on their head is
Yeah.
not good. But Bama put
All
109 on. So
all I need is Alabama to beat Gonzaga, and we're chilling.
I
Oh
don't
no,
even know
sorry,
off the
Grand
top.
Canyon, Grand Canyon.
Well, that's the final game on the agenda, okay? But
Moving on though, Houston and Longwood, 84-46.
I think it was
Hmm.
86 to 46.
Oh yeah, sorry, 86-46.
A
Yeah,
40-point win. Again, not too much to talk about there, but I know that Houston looks good.
yeah, they look good.
They look
Because
really
that
good.
that that is good because I have them going deep.
I think I have them Sweet 16, and then
That really.
I believe so.
Who's your first round exit out of the like 1 seeds? Houston.
Let's see.
I have all the number 1 seeds going to the Final Four. I
I
know
have
it's risky.
none of them in the Final Four.
Wow. Who's your latest? Like, who do you have like staying in the latest?
I can't really check that right now, but
Let me
I
guess. Let me guess.
think
Y'all are gonna lose
UConn.
in the second round.
No. I think UConn.
All right. That's all right.
Oh no, what the latest or the earliest?
Latest.
I'm not sure, but the earliest is Purdue, and I made a mistake when I was making my bracket.
Oh yeah, you have them losing in the second round.
I have them losing to TCU in the second round, and that was a
Ooh.
mistake.
Well, let's move on a little bit with that. TCU versus Utah State. I had now at this point I'm upset because I had TCU winning this game.
Yeah, so did I. I had them beating Purdue.
Oh jeez,
And
you're
moving on
really
to the Sweet 16, again, a big mistake on my part. I didn't double
such a
check my bracket until halfway through Thursday's games, but I had to stick with it. But if
what
they
about
lose, that's not good.
let me ask you. I'm gonna get a tissue. James Madison in Wisconsin, what are your thoughts?
I had James Madison. This was a very good game, without a doubt. I knew that JMU was going to pull this out. They looked good in the regular season, and
Okay.
they deserve it, in my opinion. Didn't you have Wisconsin in your championship game?
Maybe. Maybe. Yep. I had them playing Iowa State.
Oh, that was a rough one. I have Iowa State playing Duke, so
Don't hate me, bro. You never know with these brackets
you should have
nowadays.
never done that.
Alright, well that hurts a little bit.
All
You
right.
know, I had them playing in the championship game. But hey, I ended the day off strong with Grand Canyon winning over St. Mary's.
A huge upset. Grand Canyon's first win in the tournament.
Dude, I'm so happy for Grand Canyon. Like
The
I needed
Antelopes are dancing.
I needed an upset that actually went in my favor.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I picked Grand Canyon, and it puts me on the map in my pool, my bracket pool, on the leaderboard. Like
Yeah.
now I'm in 7th,
Yep.
which is good because
Mhm.
I was in 17th to halfway through yesterday's games. But I looked, and now I'm in 7th. But Grand Canyon, the Antelopes are dancing right now. First ever tournament win. in school history.
Yeah.
And now who do they play? I believe they play Bama, right?
Who are you talking about, Grand Canyon?
Yeah, I believe they play Alabama.
Grand Canyon plays, and I'm gonna check
Yes, they
right
play
now.
Alabama
They play
tomorrow.
Alabama?
They play Alabama tomorrow.
Yes, they play tomorrow, yep.
What are your thoughts? Who do you think Grand Canyon's gonna dance? Are they gonna be the next
Oh, yeah,
Loyola?
they're dancing.
Do
Oh,
you
they're
think they're gonna
dancing.
be the next Loyola Chicago?
Like you said, bro, Alabama's been playing terrible defensively. I think Grand Canyon's gonna attack that paint, score some threes, and they're gonna move on to the Sweet 16.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Upset alert, baby. But, um, I got a little something to say. My
What?
bracket ain't perfect, but this is my best bracket. In the West, in the Midwest, I have a total of 2 losses.
Yeah,
You want to see something in the South, Eric? You want to see what my bracket looks like in the South?
it's not good,
I
is it?
know, I know if you're watching this on Spotify, you can't see it. But if you're on YouTube, Eric, look at that. Look at all my losses in that region.
Is that top right?
Look, yeah. Look at the South. Look at the South. I got that's the Wisconsin area.
You got shafted in the
I
South.
had I'll tell you. I had Nebraska winning, Wisconsin, Vermont, uh Florida, Western Kentucky. The only 2 wins I got correct was Houston and NC State. And I got kind of messed up. In the East, I lost the FAU game, the Auburn game, and the BYU game. But in the West and the Midwest, dude, I was so happy. I thought I was gonna have a perfect bracket in the 2 bottoms. Midwest and well, not bottom, but the West and Midwest region. But dude, in all my brackets, I picked Michigan, and there's one bracket I picked Mississippi State. I'm like, oh, I would have gotten every single game right in the West. As for the Midwest, I picked TCU. I would have been perfect in 2 out of the 4 regions in March Madness. But it's okay though, because those 2 losses, I have them losing in the next round. So as long as Purdue and what's the other team? Yeah, as long as Purdue and UNC win, I'm basically perfect in the bottom brackets of the West and Midwest.
Now, let me ask you something.
I'm pretty nice with it. Yeah.
Let me ask you something.
Yep.
What is your final 4? Just read me your final 4.
My final 4.
Who's
I'll do
playing who?
I'll do all 3 because I didn't like make a specific one for money or anything. I just did it for fun. So in my first bracket, I had Iowa State plays North Carolina. In my other one, I had Wisconsin and Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
I have in my championship game, I have Iowa State versus Wisconsin.
Well, that one's over.
In my next bracket, I have Illinois versus Baylor.
In the left side of the final 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Houston and Kansas. And I have Houston beating Illinois.
In the championship
That's an
game.
interesting Final Four, because I can see that Final Four happening. I know it's kind of scary for Kansas fans because of that first game, but hey. And now, I think this is more of my realistic. I know it's like all the 1 seeds, but I have UConn versus North Carolina, Houston versus Purdue, and I have UConn versus Purdue in the championship game. Those are my 3 Final Fours in my championship wins. What about yourself?
So I have only one bracket, and this is for money, but it's also for fun. My final 4 contains for the East and West, Iowa State and Baylor.
Yeah, I like Baylor as a 3. Dude, Baylor.
They look good.
I will continue. Continue that.
And then on the South and Midwest side, Duke and Kansas.
I like that, but those are some risky Final Fours, especially that the Midwest and
In
the
the
South.
national championship game,
Yeah.
I have Iowa State and Duke playing, and I have Iowa State to pull it out 70-64.
Yeah, so that's reasonable. But
Iowa State to win it all. And currently, as of recording, right?
Arizona's winning 28-16.
Actually 30-16.
Oh.
They currently have a 14-point lead as of the current recording.
Hey, you never know though, because Dayton was the team that came back by 17 points. So I wouldn't be shocked if they do it again.
Yes. Now, before we end this off, I know that this episode was a pure March Madness episode. However, Blake, I have some breaking news from my inside source.
Oh.
It has nothing to do with basketball. The Chiefs are sending L'Jarius Sneed to the Titans for a 3rd-round pick next year and a 7th-round pick swap this year. What are your thoughts on that?
I had a discussion with my partner that's also an NFL geek. Both nerds of football. So I spoke my mind this morning with him about it. And this is what I said. So, let me just pull it up. So I wrote, there's an issue with the Chiefs' cap space. They had a franchise tag him to keep him longer in the team for this scenario, because right now he would have been a free agent and would have been with another team for nothing. However, excuse me. However, though, it's a win-win for both teams, because the Chiefs were to keep him on the team because of the franchise tag, and also they were able to get some value out of it. Not a lot, but it's value. It's better than no value. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because they got a 3rd-round pick next year. They got a 7th-round swap, and it may not be a lot, but hey, we've seen 7th-round picks go kind of crazy. Same thing with the 3rd-rounder. It may not be this year, but hey, next year, that can be interesting. That can be very interesting. And also, the Titans had command of this negotiation process, because they knew, like, hey, you may keep this guy, but you're gonna let him go. You're gonna let him walk next year, and you won't get the value that you just got for him today. So this is my only offer I'm giving you. Take it or leave it, bro. So the Titans were the commanders of that negotiation process.
And the thing that I kind of disagree with the Chiefs about on this is they franchise tagged him. Why would you then let him go?
Because, I'll tell you why. So the market opens up on it. I don't know the dates, but I know this for a fact. There's a franchise tag period, so you can keep your guys, which is before free agency. For an example, Brian Burns. If he didn't get franchise tagged, he's a free agent. He can go wherever he wants, free or will. But since he did get franchise tagged before free agency, a team must make a trade then to require him with a restructuring contract, because the Titans signed L'Jarius Sneed to like a 4-year, $76 million deal. So I'm not sure if that franchise tag now goes to that other team. I don't think so. I think you have to actually make a deal with him now. So, excuse me. So, back to what you were saying. When the franchise tag, teams that need a franchise tag get that first opportunity before free agency.
Yes.
If nothing happens, they walk in free agency for no value, just that guy to that organization. But when you franchise tag him, he's still with you. You can't let him walk. But you have to now trade with the team now to acquire that franchise tag. So maybe this was in the talk for a long time, which I'm sure it was. So it's very smart by the Chiefs to keep him and to get some value out of him instead of letting him walk next year to free agency. Because you have to remember, they have Mahomes on a big contract, Chris Jones is on a big contract now, so you gotta really work with your money. You know, they start Trent McDuffie, which is good, so it's a tough loss for the Chiefs. But hey, if you got some value, then no value. Look at the Panthers. I know they got value, but they could have gotten a lot more value for him. But
Hands
that's
down.
what I think.
Now, Blake, I have one more question. I have one final question, right?
Don't actually hit me, but
So with the franchise tag for any player,
Yeah.
not just L'Jarius Sneed,
Yeah.
is it the same as in the NBA where they essentially become a restricted free agent, and if they agree to go somewhere else, can that team that they franchise tag them, can that team match that essential offer, or is it just different and it's just trades, not actual contracts?
I want to sound smart and answer this question correctly, but on the top of my head, I do not know how it works in terms of the free agency market
Because
and the franchise tag market.
I know that in the NBA, you can't essentially franchise tag somebody, but they can
Yeah.
become a restricted free agency in the offseason. And if a team approaches him with a contract, that team who has that person restricted has a chance to
Yep.
match that offer. And if they do, he's forced to go with that team who they restricted. So I just don't know if it's the same in the NFL. I don't think it is. Because the only difference is, I think if you franchise tag a player, they have to get into a trade, not an actual contract as a free agent. Is that correct, do you think?
I don't know. I'm not gonna say yes or no. I don't know.
Fair enough.
But this is Arizona's up 32-20, and that was it for this episode.
I think there's no better way to end it off than saying, let's go, Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed the 4th episode of Beyond the Scoreboard with Eric.
And Blake.
And let us know if you want us to do a similar episode again next week about the round of 16. Again, we appreciate you guys for listening and tuning in. And
Thank you.
And take care.